Overlord Zuckerberg decides that we're not starting and cuts us short, which he's not. According to Sean McCarthy, it is Happy Canada Day.
All right.
Canada Day. So happy Canada Day to our Canadian brethren, which I think it might just be Sean and Michael Killen.
Pretty much.
Which is cool. They're cool
dudes.
It's
cool, man. It's cool. They're
no problems. Mike Kasicki's given us a cool little history lesson on Canada down in the chat there.
Very nice.
In 1864, the territories of Canada signed their constitution to become one nation.
Man,
frozen nation.
You know what we were doing in 1864? It was not unifying.
Kind of went the other direction on that one.
Yeah, right.
But it's Monday. Here we are. Snakes and Stogies, episode 209. Brought to you by BlackBoxCages.com. Check them out. Facebook, Instagram. Get yourself something good. There is a new promo code. We did not realize this, but there was some sort of glitch with the old promo code. It's not that it didn't work, but people were getting like extra something off as a result of it. So it has been fixed. The new code is THN24 now. So if you're getting something from BlackBox and you put in THN, it's not going to work. Tack a little 24 on the end of that, and it'll work. Racks, cages, all that good stuff. You know you want it. You know you need it. It's America's birthday, so why not celebrate it by engaging in some American capitalism?
There you go, baby. There you go.
Oh, Canada.
Keep the wheels greased. The blood of the machine can't be run alone. FulviusApparel.com also, speaking of, I'm going to get a sale together and up tomorrow for 4th of July, probably throughout the week. Likely going to do something like 20% off site-wide. I'm still playing with these patches and the laser engraver and the hats. The hat press I bought is kind of garbage, so kind of puts things on hold a little bit on that front. But either way, going to be running a sale, and hopefully people take advantage of that. There will oh my god, there will not be a promo code. I'll just, like the other sales, usually I just make it automatically take it off at checkout. So
cool,
just to save everyone the headache. And then it's not like, I hope people don't use it and don't put in the code and then I get more money. It's not the case. I just make it blanket 20%, no problem.
Yeah.
So be on the lookout for that. And then Cold-Blooded Caffeine, best coffee around. Get that Snakes and Stogies blend, that African Mexican blended goodness.
The concoction.
That's right.
And I'll tell you, they have some really great tutorial how to brew coffee different ways videos.
He just put those out.
Yeah, man.
Added those to the website.
And it's interesting because I haven't watched all of them, but I know there's going to be something that I do completely different. And it's always great to, even if you know how to brew a cup of coffee, why not watch a video from experts too? So check it out.
That's right. Make sure you're doing it right. Confirmation.
Yeah, absolutely.
What are you smoking upon?
So I've been biding my time with this cigar. So for those who are unaware, the bourbon company Pappy Van Winkle, which is one of the most world-renowned bourbons in the world. World-renowned in the world.
Phil, what is it? What I think it is.
So they made many moons ago. They made 2 sticks, the Pappy Van Winkle line through Drew Estate. There was one with a red label, one with a like goldish label. And I had smoked the one with the red label and was thoroughly disappointed in my $20 cigar. But like a lot of cigars, you can't judge the band by one smoke. You gotta give it a second try. So I waited a while, got another one, still didn't like it. But I wound up getting one of these. What's that?
Strike two.
But that was the red label. So I said, you know what? Let me try this gold label one. And this is a Toro size Pappy Van Winkle. It is, I can't remember. It's reserve aged, reserve fermented. Like it's reserve fern is what they call it. And it's a super great label. It's got Old Man Pappy on there smoking a stogie. I love it. So it had finally started to yellow in the cellophane. I was like, you know what? Gopher games. It's time. Like, let's do it. So I crack it open out of the cellophane, and I'm immediately bombarded in the sinuses, the smacked in the face with the aroma of peat, or as some people would call it, burnt firewood. Is this thing? I don't want to. I want to smoke it, and I'm going to enjoy it. But Smitty, you, the tobacconist that you are, is it covered in liquid smoke?
I honestly don't know. I'm not going to give you any information on that until you're done with it, because I don't want to taint your perception of it.
It literally smells like someone rolled this in liquid smoke.
I have very strong feelings about that cigar.
Yeah, and at first, like when I cracked the cellophane, I was like, "Ooh, it's got a little firewoody, little peatiness to it. Delicious."
I have very strong feelings about that whole line.
And then I took it out of the cellophane completely and was like, I'm in the campfire. What the hell? So I'm hoping to God they didn't roll this thing in liquid smoke, because if they did, I'm gonna be really pissed, because I'm pretty sure it was like $27 or $28 for this fucking stick. But we shall find out in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail.
No comment, buddy.
All right. And yourself, sir?
Romacraft, Neanderthal, Grand Perfecto.
Good boy.
My wife won't let me smoke in the house, so
nice.
There you go.
An old fashioned.
Good. You got the right bitters?
I do. Yeah. Angostura bitters. Yeah. I shouldn't rag my wife like that. We're renting, so I will not be smoking in this house.
Fair enough.
It's not necessarily her. It's just the property management, or
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I wouldn't. I don't think I'd smoke in my office anyway.
Yeah. And Mike Gillen, thank you very much, brother. Yes, that is something I'll throw out there. I was recently a guest on our sister show, if you want to call it that, Flippin' 10. So definitely check that out. Our boys Jake and Sky, killing it, absolutely killing it. And the newest episode 25 of Venom Exchange Radio, is hot off the press. So if you want to hear me and Nipper Reed babble about Utah and horrible envenomations on little children, feel free to give it a holler.
Well, that got dark.
It did. That's why I said it. She survived. Everything was cool. It's just
I didn't get that far.
Media sucks.
I got like a half hour into it.
That's all right. It's towards the end. But here we are.
Nothing new to report here as far as updates. Real quick, first corn clutch is literally due to hatch any day now.
Nice.
One of the eggs is starting to dent a little bit, so it's upon us. And then should have baby rhinos in just over a month, which I'm very excited about, because I love rhinos. If you guys didn't know. How is it on Pond First Light?
Well, it has a, excuse me. It has a flavored cigar feel, but I don't taste that liquid smoke at all.
I don't remember it being smoky, but I literally, I think, had it like once or twice.
Interesting.
And it's been a very long time.
It's very interesting. It is nowhere near as oily or dark as it looks or feels. The draw is really good. It's got a great draw. I cat's eye cut it, and first impressions are not bad, not too shabby, but we'll see what happens.
Speaking of, real quick, Low Country Cigar Club, the website is due to be going live the second week of this month, so please keep an eye out for that. We'll have more of an announcement as far as that goes probably next week, when I sit down and talk to Trey about it and how that's going to play out. So if any of you are fellow cigar smokers, it's going to be something cool that should be checked out as soon as we make it publicly available. With that.
Awesome. I look forward to it.
But Brent is back. We're here for a Gopher update. It's been a couple weeks since the release of the Gopher Games documentary. And
couple months.
Has it? Oh, it has been a couple months. Good Lord.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's July already, dude.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Almost 3 months.
Crazy.
Nuts. So Brent, hit me up recently and said there's some updates to talk about, and so here we are. We're super anxious to hear what's new and what's been going on. Seems like everything I saw as far as comments and stuff when the doc went live, were across the board positive. Everyone that watched it and sort of understands what's going on seemed to be very much on board with the whole thing and seemed well received. But what's new since the drop?
Well, let me brag about it real quick. It was well received. I was able to make it to our first in-person event where we had a First Magnitude brewing company in Gainesville, Florida, and it was hosted by Florida Springs Council for their Earth Day. And just a couple of weeks before, maybe even less than 2 weeks, I was chatting with their communications director, and she was like, "I think we should do it on tortoises." I'm like, "Oh crap! Okay, this is happening. This is getting ready." So I was able to make it down there, and huge turnout, and lots of people came. I don't know if you guys have been there, but it's a chill crowd. There's a lot going on, and it's a massive space. And there was a big screen that we screened our documentary, but there were tons of people, and I was like, it won't be easy to gauge how many people actually came to see our documentary, right? Maybe people will be watching out of the corner of their eye. Maybe some will be interested, right. But for the most part, they're drinking beer, right? No. When that thing started, the whole place was just glued to the television. And I could see people responding, and you could see like the torture as they watched it, and their responses. It was crazy to see it in person after I labored for 2 years on it. And then when it was over, I chatted for a bit, said goodbye, and everybody disappeared. And we were blown away. We were like, holy crap, most of the people here came to see the documentary, which we did not expect at all. So it was a great reception. We're up to 4,000 views on YouTube, which is, YouTube is, I have no idea how to do social media. So, I'm excited about 4,000 views, but I've never gotten a single shred of anything but positive feedback, and people want to get involved and they want to know what to do. And I haven't been able to give them much, but now I can. And that's why I'm excited that you guys are willing to let me do updates, because
absolutely, man.
I've got a few, but should we talk about the biggest one right off the bat?
Yeah, wherever you want to kick it off.
Yeah, so it's the petition. So when I did my first documentary, I met a, I guess I'll leave this person to be unnamed for the moment. I met a state representative who is big into conservation and hit them back up again and said, like, look, we can't just release this documentary and just hope that people figure something out, right? Mm-hmm. Like, when people don't, just because people know doesn't mean they have anything to do, or that they are willing to take the time to get engaged enough to do something. And so I want to make it easy. So
yeah, there is a gap between awareness and action when it comes to that stuff.
Yeah. And I wish, we had I don't know if I made this clear, or I told you guys last time, but it's 100% volunteer in this documentary. Not a single one of us got paid. And we're all trying to survive on our own, working jobs and stuff, and doing this on the side. And our budget was $3,000 for production. I had like $2,000 to promote it afterwards and to travel to some festivals, but like we didn't have anything to work with. So it took some time, but we just released a petition, and that petition is basically step one of pressuring the Florida legislature to enact reform on the FWC. As you could come at this problem from different angles, and that was tough in our documentary to try to figure out what to tell people. But I have been thinking hard, and I've spoken with a lot of people that are much smarter than me and know what's going on with politics in Florida, to think that this is the best first step, is to get a bunch of people to sign a petition that says, hey, we're paying attention and we're not okay with this. So I'm working with that person, that state representative, to send out this petition, get the pressure going. And this summer, we're going to work on a bill, and it'll be for the next session, proposed probably in January, but we're going to actually write our own bill, propose it to the House, and say, like, we want you guys to consider this entire overhaul of the FWC. And it's got three main tenets for anybody that hasn't seen it. It's like change.org/FWC_reform_petition. Or you can go to any of our websites.
Yeah, so I posted the link in the comments, but I don't know if it's a clickable link. If not, go to the Herpetoculture Network Facebook page, and I just posted it on there.
It is clickable.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, thank you. So it's basically three main things. It's one, we want to get conflicts of interest completely out of the picture. We have 5 developers removing protections so that they can develop. That's like, it's legal corruption. It's mind blowing. So we're going to get rid of that. Sorry, do you want to jump in?
I said it's just blatant as well. Like it's the fact that it's just they're not even attempting to be subtle about it.
Yeah, and once you. I've talked to a lot of people about this, and they're like, why would they do that? It's so obvious. Why would they do that? I'm like, because once you remove the shame factor, the amount that they have to profit is a lot. And so they don't care if it's legal and they're not going to get in trouble. Why the hell would they listen to the thousands of people who don't want them to do what they're doing when we're not putting them in office? So that's one of the main ones is like, we'll get rid of conflict of interest. Let's switch back over to the petition. So another one is qualifications. Like, not only is it ridiculous to have a bunch of conflict of like 7 out of 7 conflicts of interest on the commission. We want to make sure that these people aren't donating, to public fund or to public campaigns. But we also want to make sure that they're qualified. We want to potentially, and I should say this is spitballing, by the way. Like I'm talking to other people that are much smarter than me. We're figuring things out, but these are all ideas at the moment for this bill. But we want to go from 7 to 9. We want 9 people because 7 just for a state of 20 at this point, probably upwards of 25 million people. I
think the last one was like 27. I think last census.
21.5 was the last one.
21.5. Okay.
I guess my calculations are bad. I think I calculated like 400,000 people a year positive.
Yeah, but I feel like I read something that the last 2 years you've had like 1 million in transplants from other states.
There's no one left in Ohio, dude.
Yeah.
They've all vacated.
Like all of Long Island is here,
That explains a lot because I'm getting more and more people reaching out to me on Facebook and Instagram saying like, hey, here's another story. Here's more pictures. Here's a bunch of people that are just moving in and destroying entire ecosystems for this development. And the documentary, I didn't talk about anyone's personal stories about their backyard, but just because it's illegal for them to kill the tortoises and entomb them doesn't mean they're not doing it. In fact, it's the cost of business, which we do discuss a little bit. And so as long as it's not a single person, it's an entity, they just sue the Pulte Homes group, right? Sue them. Nobody else gets in trouble. So yeah, it's insane. So we want to have qualifications. We want to make sure that there's no conflict of interest. And so to do that, we're going to expand from 7 to 9, and then instead of the governor just like handpicking whoever the hell he wants, there's going to be like very strict things for each of the 9 positions. And they're all going to be representative. We're going to have one big city, one county with a large city, one county with only small cities, one person that's held a fishing license for 10 years, another person that's held a hunting license for 10 years, somebody who's in agriculture, somebody who's a farmer, and then a couple of conservationists who have PhDs in soil conservation, wildlife conservation. Like, we want it to be representative. We don't just want to make it all conservationists, right? Like that's not the point. The point is to represent the people. And so we want to do that with a diverse amount of, 9 positions, and then have conservationists. I'd like to have more, but I don't know. I don't think that'll happen. So I might as well not push for it. But we want to have at least a couple of people who are like, whoa. We know that agriculture needs X, but that does not, it's not okay to have Y added to that. And then Z is our destructive product. We need to make sure that the people are really the stronger voices are the ones that know how to protect the natural resources. So.
Yeah. And real quick, I just Googled it. So I was very wrong. It's 3 million as of 2024.
3x.
So I'm sorry, 23 million. 23 million.
Still a lot, right? Like that's an exponential increase.
Yeah. And it's something. So the counties of Palm Beach, Broward, Dade, and Hillsborough hold the highest population of the entire state. So 4 counties hold the majority population.
Wow. It makes a lot of sense. I mean, a lot of Florida is unbuildable. Like they're making it buildable by moving dirt and taking out the wetlands, but there's just so much water in Florida. I'm not surprised that it's the majority of just a few counties. There's like 45 counties. Fun fact: there's gopher tortoises in every single county.
Really?
Yeah. I think they are the state reptile, but like they really should be a little more prominent.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, just man, it just I can't wrap my head around how you can see those things naturally, even if you're not like a big wildlife person. Looking at a tortoise, regardless of size, gophers in particular, and being like, yeah, just bury it. Just let it.
Well, the guy driving the bulldozer does not care. Does not care.
Even know.
Yeah, honestly, no, like knows and goes, oh man, that was sad. You know, I knew a guy that he drove a bulldozer, and he told me all the time he didn't care about animals. He felt bad because he was told to feel bad. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And like he told me, he was like, yeah, man, I bulldozed this thing, and like the possum was in there. Sucks. Like just like doesn't care, you know. And it's just humans, you know.
I hope a few of them see the documentary and they're like, "Oh my gosh!"
Yeah,
and start pushing back against their. You know, this is something that we didn't cover because I didn't have the opportunity, the resources, or the time. But I have had multiple people tell me that they have either worked for environmental consulting companies or know people that have. And when you want to develop, the developer has to go through a licensed environmental consulting company, have someone come out and look for, species, right? So if they find gopher tortoises, then they have to deal with it. So they pay off these people to come in and give them the okay. And that's why when I see all these stories on Facebook of people like, hey, it looks like someone's building, but there's a gopher tortoise right there. I'm like, that's because they're cheating. Go tell the FWC, use the app to ping the GPS location, because if you can prove that it's there, taking pictures, you can prove that somebody's corrupt enough to accept money to say that it isn't there. But man, that's such a tough thing to get evidence of. So I did not talk about that in the talk.
Yeah. And honestly, it comes down to how do I phrase this? We surround ourselves with like-minded individuals, right? That's anybody in the world. You inadvertently or on purpose surround yourself with like-minded individuals. We come from a community that's very pro-animal. We like animals. We like fun facts. We like watching nature documentaries. We love David Attenborough and Planet Earth and all that crap. But the majority population, they don't care. They honestly don't care. They live in an urban environment where shy of a house gecko, an invasive house gecko on the side of their building, or the iguana in their yard that poops on the sidewalk, they don't know that there's other animals. They don't care that there's other animals. It's in their way. It's an annoyance to them. They don't realize that the food they eat came from living creatures. Like that's not a concept to them, right?
And we can't, at some point, we cannot extricate ourselves from the ecosystem.
Right. Yeah. And I've learned that more over the past couple of years. The more we do social media stuff, the more I talk to people that are not in our community, and they're like, "Oh wow, that's really cool. I had no idea. I didn't know we had snakes in Florida." Like, seriously? Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Because they've lived in a city. They lived in Manhattan their entire life. They sold their condo for, $26 million. They bought another condo that should be $500,000 on the beach, and they didn't pay $500,000. They paid $2.6 million for it because of the current state of the economy. And they're like, "Oh man, we got snakes in Florida. That's wild. I thought there might be some kind of pythons or something in the Everglades, but isn't that far away from here?" No, man, it's 20 minutes that way. So that is a thing.
How do you move somewhere and be completely oblivious to where it is on a map?
They know where it is. They know they're on South Beach. They know where it is.
They don't.
I'm on South Beach.
Jeez.
So yeah, you say that it's because of the internet and all the information that is now just blasted everywhere, that you could argue that it's probably people are more educated now than they were 20 years ago?
No, because they're not watching the educational content. They're watching a video that's going to pique their interest for 10 seconds or less, where some human is going to get injured, and that's it.
Or the Hawktua girl, which I'm
Right.
pretty damn sick of hearing about.
Exactly.
I've never seen that. What are you talking about?
Just
Exactly.
Oh my
hope
gosh.
she makes her money and retires because she's gonna be gone in about 2 weeks.
Yeah, we'll forget about it.
Off the face of the earth.
But yeah, I think that we're not, it's unfathomable to us because we're in this community, because we love nature and we love animals and blah, blah, blah. But there's the majority of people don't give a shit. So it's very important that they watch documentaries like this and that they see things that will grab their interest for that 10 seconds. And then they'll be like, oh my gosh, there's tortoises here. This is wild. How could they do that? The problem is that some of the people I know that have seen the light, as we jokingly say, they think about it in their mind and they're like, oh my God, my townhouse was built last year. Oh, well, oops. What are you going to do?
Rectify it. Sign a petition.
Yeah.
Push for
here,
change.
and that's the problem, is that even the people that realize, oh my gosh, my townhouse was built last year. Let me go on Google and see what this area looked like 5 years ago before I moved. Oh, it was jungle. Okay, well, that's not cool. But you know what? Humans have to live. We had to come here. I had to sell my condo and come here. You know what I mean? I had to sell my row home in Philly and come here. So I'm not against transplants and snowbirds. I'm not against it. It keeps me from having certain taxes in Florida. God bless tourism.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you have an area that was a golf course that got abandoned because no one was golfing, and the wilderness slightly took it back. And instead of cornering that off and giving that to tortoises, oh, no. Blackstone, here we come. Boom. Condos. Let me rephrase that. Apartments. 486 apartments to be exact, in an area of approximately 6 miles squared. And at the same time, they're all rent only, starting at a low $4,200 a month.
Jeez.
Good Lord.
Welcome to Boca Raton.
I was going to say, where are you? Because holy crap. I'm in Atlanta and I pay $4,000. Actually, I'm as of July 1st, which was today. Crap. Now I pay $4,300. Okay. So I'm ahead of that.
Yeah.
I'm ahead of Boca Raton.
Yeah, I moved last year because my rent was going to go up about $1,300 a month more.
Jeez.
Yeah.
My mortgage is $1,100.
Yeah.
How do y'all do it? I can't fathom.
By the skin of our teeth, my friend.
Good Lord.
So that's completely aside. That's aside the point. The point is that more people need to obviously see this stuff. They need to realize what's happening. And at the same time, I feel like there is more people seeing it, but the majority of people, and I'm not trying to be pessimistic, I'm not trying to be glass half empty, I'm just trying to be pragmatic. The majority of people either don't care or don't know. And that's just it.
And you were talking about how people do have access to information, but it's not everybody. I mean, it's there, but the people that are glued in watching documentaries and things like that, and maybe even listening to us talk, like typically are younger, right? They're millennials and younger.
Yeah, for sure.
And the people coming down from Manhattan, and Staten Island, those are not millennials, right?
No,
they're the older. There's the boomers and the
Yeah.
people that have the money, and they have no idea. And I think some of them would care, but
Sure.
they're in a different world, right? We're in an echo chamber of people who care about the environment. They're in an echo chamber of people who value money and nothing above that.
Yeah, but and I don't even want to single out the well-to-do people that can afford the $2 million condo. Like I don't want to single those people out. I'm talking about the average, what we used to call blue-collar people. We have a lot of immigrants from Latin America, from the Caribbean, even from Europe, and they may watch some nature thing on Netflix, but like they don't care. Like they need to make money to feed their family or to send money back to their home country where they came from. That's the most important. Those are the two most important things. They don't give a shit about turtles. So I can't blame them, but that's the majority. And we have to do things like your documentary to hopefully enlighten them.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, it's important not to demonize everybody that wants a home, right? Whether or not they have a crap ton of money. But we were just talking with some people via Facebook. There was a guy who was commenting, and I don't know if it was sincere, if he was trolling, but it seemed sincere, that he was like, what is the like the answer here? Just stop development? You can't just stop building things. And I was like, no, of course you can't stop building things, but you can create an FWC that protects natural resources that isn't run by developers. Like as a basic step, let's remove the conflict of interest and qualify these people.
Mm-hmm.
But also, like, we have extricated ourselves from the environment. We do act like it doesn't matter how much concrete covers the earth.
Right.
It fucking does. And so the answer isn't to say, no, nobody can develop. I don't care about your money. No building. The answer is to have actual environmental consultants come in and look at the land and say, okay, we can conserve this. We can have the water move here. Like this will preserve the ecosystem. Like we can live harmoniously. Yeah. And build, I don't know. I'm not a professional, so I can only be, just kind of imagine a lot of things, but I know that there is a happy medium somewhere where we value building and we value people moving to places that makes them happier, and we value the ecosystems that are there. And the basics has to be to find people who are not obviously one-sided when it comes to money and development.
Yeah, for sure. And just to go back to what we were talking about, I feel like those people are there. Like I have a good acquaintance of mine who's very well to do, and I think he bought like 500 acres in Martin County. And yeah, he built like a container home on there just to have like a cabin for when he goes and stays. He basically made it a hunting property and deer and pig. And he did a lot of revamp to put some improvised roads in and like a little parking lot area, but that's on maybe 3-4 acres. The rest of it, he has a perimeter road and he has like 2 or 3 roads that he bulldozed through it. But the rest of that 500 acres, he has on purpose kept it natural. And like he's seen 6-7 foot diamondbacks out there, and he knows that, hey, if I mess with it, I'm going to get hurt or I could die. But at the same time, I don't need to chop its head off. I can leave it there. And he's got gopher tortoises on his property. It's all palmetto scrub land, so it's prime gopher habitat. So you get an individual like that where, let's be real, he really doesn't care about the animals, but he knows that they should be there and let live and was it live and let live, that right? And I feel like we need to find more of that.
And maybe we need him on the commission, right? Like that's why I don't think that it's fair to just say the conservationists should take over the commission. Like we want people like him that are like, look, I see the value in this from a different angle, but I see the value in it. Yeah. And so we don't need people to just like want to cuddle with tortoises every day, right? We don't need that exclusively. Yeah. But we do need more of it.
And when you're looking at the big picture in terms of like agriculture and farmers and like all these other things that are affected, it's not just native wildlife and stuff. Like it is the landscape and flora and fauna. Like as a whole, it is much more nuanced, and you do need those people from the different sectors of it sort of involved and in it just to keep all the bases covered as best as you can. There's not a broad stroke that can be painted to just solve it all by any means, but I think it's definitely a step, like a much better direction to go in than what's there currently. Because after looking at the commission now and seeing how many of them are tied to development companies and things like that, it's like, how does no one look at this and go, why are they in charge of what's going on with the natural resources? Like,
because they don't know
what it's such a blatant conflict of interest. I just like it's unbelievable. It's just goofy.
Yeah, it's like if drug dealers ran the DEA. Like you would never let a drug dealer run the DEA, right? You just wouldn't. So
it's like Wall Street and FINRA. Like it's self-regulatory. No. Ever.
In a government founded on checks and balances.
Yeah. Oh my God. I can't even.
Or oranges, Mortimer. Oranges.
It's insane.
Mike Kosicki got that joke.
Michael Dillon said, redevelop poorly developed areas. As someone who drywalls row homes, you might as well build condos. No one is using the useless yards, which is true. Like that's a problem here. We have so many like empty spaces and buildings. And instead of someone coming in and saying, well, there's this lot, we can get rid of what's there currently and just build on that. Like, instead, it's like, no, we want a brand new plot. We want it cleared, and we want to put apartments. For whatever reason, they keep putting these massive apartment complexes around town here. And it's like, there's no way you guys have enough people to fill these. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, the amount of storage unit places that are coming in here is just astronomical.
Well,
like,
so
how do you guys in business? There's not enough people to fill these. Like, what are you even doing?
There is, and maybe not by you, but by me, you have a ton of storage facilities, and they're all full up. And they constantly are raising and lowering their rates. So people are constantly moving out and moving in of these storage facilities. And the reason why is because people can't afford a home on their own. They can barely afford an apartment. So what winds up happening is you get a large family, typically from Latin America, that is got mom and dad and 4 or 5 kids. Those 4 or 5 kids may have kids of their own, and they're moving into a 4-bedroom townhouse, and they're splitting it. But the problem is there's no garage, there's no attic. So what do? You have to have a storage facility, but you can't have one storage facility for all the people because it'd be way too expensive to have one big giant room. So they get 3 or 4 little ones, right? And that's what has to happen. So, and all these condos, I keep talking about these apartments, these crazy developments where they're clearing out abandoned golf courses and making all these Blackstone condos and rentals. They're all full up, even though they're $4,000 a month or $3,500 a month, because you've got 2 or 3 single individuals roommating. They have to do it. There's no other way to do it. So it would not shock me if you get a population spike, because you got a ton of people that live down by me who are now going up by Smitty. They're going to North Carolina. They're going to South Carolina. And it's almost, it's like a crazy reverse migration. It's like the people from the Northeast come to Florida, and then the Floridians go to North Carolina.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's just how it works.
To jump back on the petition.
Yeah. Sorry, we kind of diverted a little there.
No, that's why we're here, right? So the last kind of main point, as we were thinking through this, I'm like, look, we can have these 9 people, but if they're appointed by the governor, he's just going to pick 9 people from each like, it's not hard out of 23 million people to find 9 that will do exactly what you want. So in addition to making sure that there's conflict of interest, that they're qualified, we want to change the way that they're chosen. And I talked to the congressperson, and they said that trying to make them elected positions was a pipe dream. It was just not going to happen. And I think that would be the best.
Why is that?
It's a Republican controlled legislature. And Florida has made it clear that they do not want people meddling in the government. They do not reflect the people. So was it a couple of years ago, they passed a law that made it even harder to get a citizen-led initiative on the ballot. Like, they don't want you to be able to make changes. They want you to elect people who then do whatever the hell they want to profit, regardless of what the people think. So making them elected positions was just not tenable. And not my expertise, so I'm going to go ahead and trust them. And so what we did is say that 2 of them, I believe, we want to make chosen by the governor, right? And then the FDEP will choose one. The Agricultural Commission will choose one. The water management districts will choose one. Like the professional organizations that are supposed to be nonpartisan, they will be choosing some of these people, and we'll have professionals choosing, hopefully, professionals. Again, this is all like, just ideas. We will make a bill and propose it. And I'm hoping that we'll get enough pressure by that point that the legislature will seriously consider it. And I don't know if it'll look anything like it does now. I am an idiot and decided to dive into bill proposals, and I wrote part of it. That may have been a colossal waste of my own time because I don't know what I'm doing. But we will finish it at some point in time for next year. And that's the biggest thing we've got going on right now is like we're pushing this petition. We've got about 100 people a day signing it right now. I think we've got 600 plus. Let me refresh. We are at 637 when we started this podcast. 641. Oh, you guys are making a difference. So we need thousands. We need thousands until people are going to pay attention. So I'm going to reach out to some news organizations, see if we can get some articles written on this. But yeah, this is the big thing we got going right now. It's just like putting pressure on the legislature to actually make change, because people get so pissed when they see this documentary and they're like, what now?
Yeah.
Here, this is what now.
Yeah.
It's tough. I mean, it's a David and Goliath thing. You know, you're going up against a very large machine.
Yeah.
And it's like I think it's sort of a similar mentality I think a lot of people have to, well, I'm not going to vote because my single vote doesn't matter. And it's like, that's true. But when you times that by several thousand or several million of people who have that same mentality, that's when things don't get passed or things don't happen, you know? And so it's tough. I mean, I don't know what the right answer is necessarily. I know when they were trying to pass legislation here in South Carolina about venomous stuff, very similar to Florida, man. Like, people showed up, people spoke up, and just like Florida, it felt like it was pretty much predetermined going in, and that it was just the formality of it.
Right.
We're letting you speak because we have to, but our minds are made up. So it's super frustrating, especially I think in herp related stuff in particular, regardless of if it's snakes or tortoises. It's just getting people to care is really difficult. Especially with snakes in particular, when you're looking at an animal that's so demonized and has been for millennia. You know, it's a tough sell. So I would hope that tortoises would be it would be easier for people to see tortoises and be like, why would you not want to keep those around? Like, they're cool as hell. You know, they're adorable.
Mm-hmm. I think you mentioned something important. So the education is always the key, right? People do care. The majority of people care. And if they knew that their government was not working for them, they would change it, but they don't. But those that do still don't know enough. And I will not rag on anybody, community or an individual, but I will say I have watched this battle between the herp keepers, like the breeders in Florida, fight against the FWC, and it get nasty. And I get that. I'm angry too. It's terrible what's going on. But the fight with the commission is pointless. It's just a fight with a bunch of guys who don't answer to you. And that's why I think this petition is super important, especially I wanted to talk to you guys about it because you have a reach out to these people who breed reptiles. Like, stop screaming at the FWC. They don't have to listen to you. Sign the petition. Call your representative and say, what the hell? This is unacceptable. Because until they are held accountable, we will not be able to hold them accountable. If there's not a mechanism for them to have any sort of punishment for what they've done, then they're not going to stop. So screaming at them, getting angry, getting nasty on Facebook and Instagram, like I've seen even some people with some violent rhetoric and heard that they were like vandalism.
Yeah, that.
I get the anger. I feel the anger, but that doesn't make a difference. That doesn't change things. It just makes you look like an idiot because you don't know what's going on. So scream and yell, and then go call somebody. Go sign a petition, go do a protest. I'm hoping to organize some of those in the future. Like, there's ways to make a difference, and we can all scream and yell and get angry, but we're not going to make one until we stand up together and look for the ways to make a difference.
Well, they already think we're unhinged because we're keeping snakes and stuff anyway. So that definitely doesn't.
Right? They have no respect for you.
I'm going to come and knife your tires.
If you're not a rich person who has development money, then they don't care about you and they have no respect for you. So, and you don't need it, right? We don't need their respect. I don't give a shit. But we need them to listen. And the only way to do it is to make enough noise collectively to make change.
Yeah. I don't know if I mentioned it with last time we had talked to you or if it was another episode where we were talking about Florida legislation or something, but my boss was the mayor of the city of Beaufort for a handful of years. And he had to go up to Columbia for all kinds of mayoral and government type stuff. And so there was one day I asked him because I was curious. I was like, told him how the legislation pops up periodically. And I was like, they say email this email, call this number. And I was like, dude, is that just an email that just goes nowhere?
Yes.
Is that a fake address that it collects these things and they don't read it?
Correct.
And he said, actually, their people see the amount of emails that are coming in and they gauge whether or not, basically, in a nutshell, this is what was said. I don't remember verbatim, but more or less, if their people see all these emails coming in, then they know that it's something people clearly care about. And so that's when, if they see the numbers enough, that's when they decide, okay, I need to look into this further and go from there. So
I'm gonna play devil's advocate, man.
I always assumed that it was that, where you send an email and it was like, okay, that's a whole spam folder and everything just goes to that.
Right. I don't mean to cut you off, but I'll play devil's advocate. As someone who has done that, I messaged, I'm going to not say what the topic was. I'm not going to say who the people in government were, just because I don't want to be that guy tonight. But I sent a very, very appropriate email, very professional, very thought out, very, very, very planned out emails for me and several other individuals to 2 different high-ranking Florida individuals. One of them did not respond at all. The other one responded with a legitimately, this was pre-chat GBT, but if it was nowadays, you'd swear it was just an auto-programmed chat GBT.
Auto response.
And it was 3 months later. So yes, they see if there's a topic and all of a sudden their inbox has 50,000 emails, they're going to go, wow, this is clearly a hot topic. And then they're going to tell their assistant, who doesn't give a shit about tortoises or anything, and they're going to say, yeah, delete all those. We're not dealing with it. That's it. Or hopefully they get enough emails from the right individuals, like Brent was saying, who have the scarol, and they go, man, that's what that rich guy was talking about. Might want to give that guy a call.
One of my biggest donors. I should probably listen to him.
Yeah. But if those big donors are not in those 50,000 emails, it's irrelevant. Now, I like what Mike Kosicki said. We'll never make enough noise, in his opinion, unless there's a blackfish type phenomenon. I feel like that's the truth. I feel like Gopher Games is I'm not trying to speak ill of the documentary in the least capacity, but if it was as big a production like Netflix and Blackfish and all that, then we probably wouldn't even be having to have this conversation, right?
Yeah.
Not saying that your work is, I'm not trying to diminish your work in the least capacity. I understand. I love what you've done. I'm just trying to compare the volume. You know what I mean?
I mean, our budget was $5,000 total.
Right. And that's,
there's a million.
So like, if you had, for lack of a better synonym, Blackfish money, Blackfish Netflix, poof, we'd be in business, right? No pun intended. Sorry. But yeah, I feel like it's got to be a correlation of what both of you are saying. It's got to be the high dollar guys who are funding God knows what, and Smitty talking about carpet bombing them with email to the point where they say, whoa, this is clearly a topic.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to back both of you up on the discussion of whether or not elected officials answer. And I've got receipts to prove it. Phil, the representative that I'm working with, if you email this person, there's an auto response that says, hey, we'll get back to you ASAP. And they get back to you ASAP, whether or not it's that actual representative or that person's intern or whoever else is in the office.
Right.
And that blows my mind because I can Skype with this person if I set it up, a month in advance. I can Skype with that person and I have multiple times and we can email easily and it's amazing. So sometimes, specifically your local representative, there's a lot of them, right? Specifically them, they are discussing things with people on an individual level. Yeah. As long as you communicate properly. If you send them like an all caps lock, whatever, something that looks like
aggressive.
No, they're going to get an auto response. You might never hear from them again. But if you reach out, and use punctuation and craft, an actual structured sentence, they will reach out. But for Smitty, The documentary I made before this one, called The Water State, talks about essentially the same problem, but with water. So there's only 7 people on the commission for the FWC that cover all the wildlife, right? But there are 50 positions over multiple different water management districts that all look at the water permits that come in their district and say whether or not it can be approved. And across the districts, there's 99.9% approval in the last like 60 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
They never say no. There was the big Ginny Springs permit. A lot of contention over whether or not Nestle could come in and buy that permit.
Yeah.
At one point, the commission said, okay, look, we're going to have a study done. And the commission's own scientists said, this is a bad idea. And said, okay, let's listen to what the people want. Let's listen to what they're going to say. And they opened it up, and 15,000 people gave their input. And eventually, it was a long time down the line, they admitted that they had no way of processing that many. But the Florida Springs Council had some resources in I think our Santa Fe River, and they worked together, and they went through 15,000 responses.
Wow.
And overwhelmingly, it was against the permit. But the point was, like, there was a way that you could reach out and you could put pressure, but they didn't care. They didn't even process. They didn't read them. And there's no way that they could. There's no way that they had the resources to. So there are times where it is worth your time to reach out individually to an individual. Sending a message via email to the governor's office is not going to get you anywhere. That guy's he's got a million people wanting to do that. But your local representative will pay attention. And if they get enough calls, they will start organizing discussions. And that's when you can really put the pressure on. So,
yeah. There was an individual representative who got some email, for lack of a better word, pressure, positive pressure, when the iguana ban was taking place. And literally the night before the iguana ban went into effect, that representative had enough information to allow them to alter the bill at the last minute to allow trappers, pest control, nuisance animal people, and eventually some breeders too, to be able to interact, transport, and possess iguanas. So even though that is a very, very small thing, and if you catch a baby iguana in your yard and give it to your kid, it's still against the law, which is asinine. But at least those people that this was their livelihood really aren't affected by the law. And that was because of a state representative at the last minute. Now, after the law passed, more people reached out to the same representative and another representative as well. And those representatives basically said, hey man, we're done. We did our 2-bit. We're done. Don't ask me about iguanas anymore. Don't ask me about lizards anymore. Like, get over it. That's it. It's done. So it was like, it was a win for us to a certain, it wasn't a win. I guess it's a win. It was a win for us to a certain extent, but then we were basically told, give it up. You're not going to win anymore. So just stop, which is also disheartening.
Well, when that happens, you beat them at the ballot box.
Yeah.
That's your biggest voice. In Florida, it's less of a voice as Governor DeSantis gets his way, but it's still a voice at the moment. And yeah, if that representative stops listening to you guys, organize a campaign to get people to stop voting for him. That will scare the crap out of them, and they'll start listening immediately. Even before the election, they'll start paying attention.
Well, also watching. So again, when the venomous stuff in South Carolina was sort of on the table, actually watching the House meetings when they're deciding on these things and paying attention to your local representatives and seeing how they vote, because we have 2 in particular that I see around town on a fairly regular basis, and they're infuriating because I emailed one of them, and she was like, oh yeah, I understand. When I see the bill, I'll sort of look into it further and sort of decide from there. And I watched her hit the red button on venomous in South Carolina after she basically sort of just gave me the lip service. And the other guy, he's just a good old boy. He's the type that thinks cottonmouths chase you. but it was just so frustrating. And now, and that was a couple years ago, but now I'm at this point where like I see her, I hear her talk, and I'm like, you ain't ever getting another vote from me. Period. Like,
yeah,
it's crap.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So paying attention to those things and watching it, especially when those particular bills are sort of on the line, and just paying attention to who's reacting in what way. I think it's very revealing.
For sure. And John Calloway put a comment, get Meat Eater on, they're all about conservation and love of all wildlife. And I've met Steve Vernella and Yanis Patelis, and those dudes are awesome. And I feel like that is an absolutely fantastic idea, especially if enough people send the Meat Eater people, whether it be Steve Vernella himself or his producers or whatever, enough people send him the Gopher Games videos, whether they're the shorts, the clips, the actual documentary itself. Enough of his people will see it, and they'll be like, yo, we need to get on this too. And then we may even have our Blackfish movement at that point. And that just goes to show you, like John's saying, nobody loves animals more than hunters. And I know a lot of the anti-hunting people and vegetarian people in that kind of genre, they can't wrap their head around that. Well, why would I care about an animal that I'm going to shoot and kill? Well, it's because they love those animals and they want those animals to be around. And yes, they're harvesting them and
they love them to death,
renewable resources and so on and so forth. But it's hard to explain, and it sounds cockamamie when you put it out there, but nobody loves animals more than hunters. Nobody loves the ecosystem more than hunters, especially in terms of passing down the wilderness.
Yeah.
We have a public land system in this country where all three of us on this camera right now, and everyone in the group chat, and every single person who listens to this in their car or wherever they may be, technically owns land in this country. It's public land. And if we can get more of that through conservation, then rock and roll.
Yeah. I mean, we all value something, and we all value it in a different way. So
yeah,
why would we all just, I think it was really hard to write a documentary that was an opinion piece, essentially, that,
sure,
wasn't just my opinion. But everyone has a different viewpoint, and there's no reason why we can't work together. And I think that is a struggle sometimes, especially for the reptile community. And I'm not as tightly knit with it as I once was, but I see a lot of infighting, and, we all value the same thing. We want to have our animals and we want to take care of them. And yes, there are bad actors. I've met some of them. I have worked for some of them. But that's not the majority. And if we stop shouting at each other and realize that there is someone who's actually causing the problem and they're watching us fight, we need to work together, and we need to all, like you were talking about echo chambers, right? Like, that's such a big deal. That's what social media does. And we need to just take a second to say, well, why does this person not value this? Or why does this person value it, but they want to do this with it? Like, take a hot second to listen to somebody else, because there's a middle ground you can find. It just takes a second and a little bit of energy, and you can get there.
Yeah, what's been the elevator pitch of sorts to people that aren't into wildlife? Like, how do you, I know for snake people in particular, there's the whole like, oh, the only good snake's a dead snake. Well, in my opinion, the only good dog's a dead dog kind of thing. And to me, that's like, that doesn't
help at all.
The message is there, but it's delivered
it's
all wrong. Like, what's been the elevator pitch for gopher tortoises to people that don't really care about wildlife? Like, how do you put it into terms that maybe they understand?
Well, you can never make somebody care about something, and you can encourage it and try to find ways to make it happen and foster it, but you can never force somebody. But you can allow them to see the value. So, I think with gopher games, or at least this topic in general, it's almost easier to show what happens without it than it is to try to convince them to look at what it's like with it. Right? Like, we can see the destruction. There's a reason why I worked really hard to use those satellite images where it transitions from the past to the present, because that's a visualization of like, holy crap, I can't enjoy that beach anymore. There's a million people there. I can't enjoy that walk through the forest anymore because it's a condo. Once you show people the destruction, then they start to understand. But again, I think the first thing to do is ask questions. Ask them why they don't care. Ask them what they think is important, like why they're okay with getting rid of it. What would they do instead of having a park that has tons of trees, right? Because then you can see what they value, and you can be like, okay, well, you can't have this without this. And developers even get it sometimes, right? Like, water will always be in Florida. You cannot completely dirt over the entire state and concrete it and expect it not to just ruin everything, especially down in Miami, right? Like the sea rise is an issue.
Oh man,
So,
it's crazy this time of year.
yeah, right. I mean, it's apocalyptic, but even developers to some extent get that there is value because people come to Florida for outdoor recreation. That is the year to year, the number one pull to this state is outdoor recreation. And so if you just put up a million hotels and get rid of the things that those people are coming to see, then there is absolutely no point. So you got to basically understand that sometimes it's money, right? Money is what they value, and that's okay. I don't like it, but it's okay. But if you can show them the value in that nature, and in my first documentary, I worked really hard to do that, to show that, outdoor recreation is important. And it's important for the people that enjoy it. It's important for the lives of the people that sustain it, right? Like the service industry is huge. And if you get rid of the waterways, if you get rid of the wildlife, there's a bunch of people that no longer have a way to make a living. So you gotta listen first, and then you gotta be like, okay, I can see what you value. Here's why this is important.
It's hard though. Really good approach to it, because that's something I think about with snakes and stuff, is like, how do you, it's really, when people are so set in their mindset, especially when it comes to snakes in particular, it's really hard to get them to shake the myth that cottonmouths chase you, for example. They're so dead set on that. I've had people tell me up and down after I've told them they don't. Like, yes, they do. I swear they do. Like, it happened to me, and I'm like, it didn't. Your reality in that moment was not the same as what was actually happening. But like, how do you take that and spin it in a way to where people understand? I think that's a good way to go about it, is to basically say, like, without these, do you like rats more than you like snakes? Do you like rodents more than you like snakes? Because that's kind of part of the problem. Like, if we don't have them, then we have more issues with that. And so tying it back to a way that does sort of directly, hit closer to home for people is a good route to go.
Yeah.
I was working at the Fern Bank Museum here in Atlanta last summer, and there was a live animal exhibit. I was one of the keepers and educators, and I had rat snakes, and rat snakes are all over the South, right? Like the black rat snake is freaking everywhere. And I would bring it out, and they're long, right? Like they're long and skinny, and they can get a little thicker, but they're kind of scary looking because they're just jet black, maybe a small design on them. And I would pull them out, and people would freak out. And I had a presentation, in a little auditorium. I was like, look, I would start exactly what you said. I was like, okay, do you like cockroaches? Okay, no. Do you like rats, mice, bugs? Like, what do you not want in your home? Name it, and the rat snake eats it. So consider yourself blessed if you have a rat snake in your backyard.
Or eat the thing that eats the thing. Right.
And at that point, they don't care about that snake, but they see its value. Right. And they're hopefully not going to kill it. Or you don't want the snake inside. I get that. Okay. But let it stay in your garage. Let it stay in your backyard. It's not going to bite your kids. Tell them not to mess with it. It's going to take care of you, and it's going to reduce the bill that you're going to pay for that pest control. So they just got to see the value. It's not easy at all sometimes.
And that hog nose I have at work, man, it continually just amazes me how it disarms people that are typically scared of snakes. And they see that Western hog I have at work, his name's Wilson, my coworker, she's the first person to tell people about it. And she's like, she won't touch him. She loves him to death, but she will not touch him. She's the first person to be like, yeah, it's Wilson. He's a hog nose. He's really cool. I don't like snakes, but I really like him. And I think I was talking about it in the group chat not that long ago, but like, I would have assumed when we first brought him in and kept him there, that my boss would make me get rid of him pretty much immediately because of how much it would freak people out, him being there. And he's not like out in the open. He's kind of back in our little work area. But people can still see him from the counter and stuff. And it's actually been the opposite. Like the amount of people that have been like, oh, what's in there? And we're like, oh, it's a little hognose snake. And they're like, oh, that's cool. What's that? You know, and we want to see him. And like the reaction has been the complete opposite of what I expected it to be from the general public.
That's cool.
Which has been really surprising because I was not expecting that at all. And, you know, we get a lot of kids and stuff in there and they, you know, they want to see him. There was a mom and her 2 kids, I think from Japan, because half our building is a kazoo museum and factory and the other half is the t-shirts and stuff. So we get a lot of people traveling to see the kazoo side of things. And this mom and her 2 kids were from Japan. They didn't speak English very well, but like the kids saw it and I, you know, took it out and let them pet it. And they were just like absolutely enamored with it. And it's just been really awesome to see people not freaking out. Like, I don't think I've had a single person be like, I'm not coming back there. I don't want to see it. I'm freaked out. Like, get it away. It's been the opposite. And even my coworker, you know, she doesn't like snakes, but she sent me pictures of her with little ringnecks she found in her yard, like holding them. And like, she's like, normally I would have killed these, but because of Wilson,
that's great.
I now like appreciate them. And like, she tells me about these racers and stuff she sees in her yard. And, you know, of course the venomous stuff, she's still not crazy about, but I've, you know, explained to her, I'm like, look, you know, they're completely harmless if you leave them alone. Like they're every bit a part of the ecosystem as an alligator or, you know, a porcupine or raccoon or anything else. So
we're all just trying to do our thing,
you know, but there is something about it because it's been the same with the rhino rats. There's just something about that nose with the hog noses and the rhinos that just completely disarm people from that fear they have. And maybe it's because they're just so goofy looking that, you know, people are just like, oh, that's actually really cool. That's not scary at all. You know?
Yeah. I have a morbid story that I don't think I've told on air before. And it like I said, it is morbid, but there's a silver lining to this.
Exactly, Mike.
So a friend of mine had a neighbor. They live in a very, very bougie neighborhood out west on the Everglades. You know, 15 years ago, it was Everglades swamp, and they bulldozed it all and made these bougie giant mansions. And they all have, you know, the very fancy smancy landscapers and stuff. And this guy had a giant black snake in his garage and he was terrified. And he wound up finding a landscaper guy outside who was just, you know, weed whacking. And most of the landscapers in South Florida are immigrants and don't speak very good English. And this guy, can you guys hear that Cuban tree frog screaming in the background?
Barely.
Okay. All right. He's so loud. He's like right in my ear. So most of the landscapers are immigrants from Latin America or the Caribbean, and they don't speak very good English. And he's calling this landscaper to come kill this snake. And landscaper comes in the garage. He's like, "Oh no! This is good snake. This is a good snake. You can't kill it. It's against the law. You can't kill it, right?" Clearly, it's an Eastern indigo. And the guy says, "I don't care. I'm killing it." And he cuts its head off with a shovel. And this is the crazy part. He calls Fish and Wildlife. or no, I'm sorry. I think he calls like Critter Control or somebody, like some company to come. Like, he wants to know if it's dangerous. He wants to know if he did the right thing, right? And whoever pest control he talked to was like, "Hey man, it sounds like an indigo. Sounds like it's protected. You shouldn't have done that. We're not coming out there. Like, we're not."
Yeah.
So you need to call Fish and Wildlife if you really want validation. So he calls the field office in West Palm, and the field office says, "We can't ID anything over the phone, but if you'd like to bring it here, we'll take a look at it." And he drives the corpse to the FWC office, where he is basically given a notice to appear in court, and he got a $500 fine and 6 months probation because he told him to go. So silver lining is, I was ecstatic to hear that the landscaper knew what was what. That made me so happy. Someone who is not born and raised here, who knew what was good, what was bad, whatever. I thought that was great. I'm sure he told his guys on his crew. I'm sure the whole crew know. Like, that's awesome.
I mean, if I was in that line of work, I'd probably want to know what I was
going
to be encountering with on a regular basis
of
too.
Of course. And a lot of, and like, again, I'm not trying to discredit these guys. All these guys, they're not educated. they get this job because it's an easy job for someone who's trying to start from the ground up in South
The hardest
Florida.
working dudes around, man.
Yeah, hardest working dudes around. And but that made me really happy that the landscaper knew, and it made me really happy that the guy got what he deserved, but it just
He
goes
won't
to
do that
show you,
again.
right? It just goes to show you that this guy was told, don't do this. He did it anyway. But then I guess, I don't know if it was the guilt or he needed validation or something. I don't know, but he wanted justification. Right. And that was mind boggling to me, but I'm still glad to see that the just desserts, or however you want to phrase it. So
we don't always get that kind of satisfaction.
Yeah.
I know, right? Oh man.
Can I share another thing that I've not shared with anybody?
Sure, yeah.
Of course.
I'll be upset if you don't.
Okay, so here's a minor one. I got a few things. We won another award for a film festival. At the moment, we have been told that we won an award. I don't know what award it was.
Okay.
We were up for best environmental, best director, best cinematography, but we won an award. So we'll announce it over social media when it's confirmed. And also, on July 20th is a Reptile Day at the Fernbank Museum of Natural History in Atlanta. And it's an amazing museum, absolutely beautiful. And Reptile Day, there's local organizations bring in live reptiles. People get to hang out, touch them, learn about them. And the whole day is just focused on reptiles. Well, the auditorium happens to be reserved for, I believe, 3 to 4 showings of gopher games throughout the day.
Awesome.
And I'll be doing a Q&A.
That's great.
Yeah, and I know like gopher tortoises, people in Atlanta do not even know that they're in this state. They have no idea. And I know this from firsthand. But they are in Georgia. They're in a lot of states in the South, and they're not in Atlanta because there's too many people who developed everything. But it may be Florida centric, but it's important here. And I look forward to talking to people about that, about how we need to work together in different states, and we can get pressure from multiple states trying to talk to their governments, figure this out. But I'm excited about that. And then the last one, and Chase asked me to say this much earlier in the podcast. But we have officially got our first syndication. We will be streaming on demand on the Discover Florida channel starting on July 12th. I think it's a Friday.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. So it's a relatively new channel, and it's very Florida centric, obviously, but so was our documentary, right? So I'm very excited because we didn't make much money, honestly, almost any at all to do that, but we were fine with it because it's a lot more people that may never see, the YouTube or the social media stuff. So we're really excited about that. We have not posted yet. We will once we get some information from them. But yeah, we're going to be on streaming on demand.
That's
and
great.
Hopefully making a difference in a bigger way.
That's fantastic, man.
Are you guys still getting it into festivals and things like that? Still,
yes,
sort of like in-person shopping it around kind of thing and getting it out there?
Yeah, I saved a couple of grand right out of our budget for promoting the piece afterwards, and I wanted to use a lot of that on YouTube. And then I did that, and I was like, that was an absolute epic waste of money. So for some reason, I just felt like we got no value on promoting it on Facebook or YouTube, and it was kind of expensive. So I spent a few $100s on film festivals. So we've got, I want to say like 15 more, and most of them happen in the spring. So submissions, we released it in April, right after many of the stuff happened, especially in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of film festivals are already over. So we have quite a few. July 20th is the next one we got into the, I want to say Southern Shorts Film Fest. But yeah, constantly we have lots of film festivals, and personally, I don't like them that much. I think a lot of film festivals are a scam, but it's undeniably a good way to get your piece out there. And who knows? Something.
Do you find that? All right, so maybe this is just me being me. When I think film festival, I think of a lot of yuppies and hipsters and hippies. Is it a bona fide mixed demographic, or is my assumptions the case?
The ones that get, I mean, okay, so Cannes, right? In France, and I may have not pronounced that correctly. Sundance, right? You've heard of that.
Of course.
Yes. You're not going to get into those unless you've got a connection. And it is the Hollywood elites. It is pretentious. Yeah, some of the bigger film festivals, even probably one or two in Florida, even though there's not any major, like enormous ones. Some of it, yes, but a lot of it, no. We've got into 4 out of 5 so far, and the 4 that we got into were specifically they existed to promote small budget stuff and independent filmmakers.
Wow.
So it is a big way for independent filmmakers to get together and see each other's work, as well as other headhunters to come in and be like, that piece is dope. Maybe I want to syndicate that on my streaming channel.
Yeah.
So no, it's not. If it were all pretentious and stuff like that, I would not have spent any money at all putting it into festivals. But I did, and I'm hoping that at some point we might get that one person that wants to write a news article after they see it, or that one person who wants to put it on their channel. And I have hopes that it'll end up on Amazon or Netflix.
That was my next question is, let's say the right people see it and they want to expand on it. So how long is 20 minutes? How long is it?
18, yeah.
18. Okay. I can't see, and again, I'm not trying to speak ill of your beautiful piece of artistry. I love it. It's fantastic. It's hard to put something that's 18 minutes on Netflix. So do you have for lack of a better word, director's cut or something that is, 45 minutes to an hour long, or would you have to put something together like that? Are you prepared for Netflix to be like, hey man, give us the rest of it?
I mean, I would do whatever it took to make that happen. Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. I just didn't know if you had that ready to rock and roll, or if you'd thought about it, or
kind of. So I have it up on Film Hub, and Film Hub is basically like, I submit it to Film Hub, and I submit everything, graphics, subtitles, everything. And then they shop it around to more than 200 channels that are streaming. I have not gotten a hit on it yet in the last 2 months. So I don't know how long it'll take, to be honest. They do their thing. They don't give me an update until someone says yes. So it is possible that it'll end up on one of those platforms. And you're right, though, the format for Netflix specifically is not like one-off. If it was a series, yes. If someone came to me and said, I need you to make it an hour, I would say no. Okay. Not that I don't think I could do it. I could absolutely do it. This topic makes me angry. Sometimes I dove head into the gopher hole, but it's not compelling. Nobody wants to watch an hour-long documentary of talking heads.
Yeah.
We condensed it from a half an hour down to 18 minutes. And I watched the 30-minute version, and it was not good because it's just... it's too much, right? No one wants to know the technical ramifications of the loopholes that the developers are using to get through the agricultural permit.
Yeah, it's not exciting.
Development permit, yeah.
It's not sexy.
No. Yeah. And the people that do care about that are lawyers who are trying to either exploit the loopholes or prosecutors who want to catch these people. So,
right.
So no, I don't think it'll end up on Netflix. I think Apple TV was considering shorts. I think they're branching out, and I know that, was it Fluvi that's owned by Amazon? Fluvi is I don't know if it's new, but I think they bought it, and they're putting shorts on there. So there are lots of platforms out there that do shorts, and maybe we'll get out there on one of those. But
yeah, there's a new, it's some kind of affiliate with Amazon, but there's a ton of really cool, everywhere from a half an hour to 2 hour documentaries on ancient Egypt and ancient Greece, and a lot of history documentaries of the ancient world on, I think it's on Amazon Prime, but it's an organization within it. So like, even though you have a Prime membership, you still have to pay to get all the sciencey stuff. And when we're off, I'll find that and I'll send it to you, because I think that might be the perfect venue for what you're trying to do, because those people have already paid into that sciencey subscription.
Yeah, maybe. And Chase just texted me. He was in the doc and a producer. He cracked a joke, but he had the idea of making a miniseries. I could do that. Yeah. If someone came by and they said, hey, we're a production company, we want to buy the rights to this, and we want to make a miniseries, I could do that. I could make a miniseries compelling, but an hour-long one, not so much. But yeah, no, send that to me. I don't know. It's hard because it can take a lot of money, time, and effort to try to get even connected to these places that will put it up there. That's why I did it on Film Hub, because it does all the work for me. But it's also really hard to try to the goal is to make a difference, not money, right? I don't mind getting paid. I didn't get paid yet. I don't mind making a little bit if it's possible, but I don't want to waste time and money trying to get on a platform where no one's going to care, even if they see it. The fact that we're on Discover Florida channel means that those people watching that documentary are already there. It's making a difference because they already care enough to learn about Florida. And I don't know what the reach is. I don't.
How about this? I didn't know that there was that channel.
Oh,
so there you go.
It's actually pretty cool. It's got a lot of good content. It's an Emmy award-winning guy. I want to say Chad Crawford started it, and he's one of the hosts of a lot of the shows. But it looks like pretty good content. I've watched a few things, and there's some really good stuff on conservation. It's conservation heavy,
cool,
which is really neat. Yeah.
Did you reach out to any of the bigger, big YouTube channels as far as herpers go?
Kind of.
I actually like the big outdoorsy channels or anything like that would be interested in it.
I sent some messages to some people and got static in return. I did have someone reach out to me who has their own YouTube channel, and this person's very connected to some of the big ones.
Yeah.
And they said, they're like, I want you to get connected. We're going to figure out a way to share this. Mm-hmm. It hasn't gone anywhere yet. But I just did have someone with 75,000 followers on Instagram just shared our stuff. We got a lot of people started to follow and a lot of new signatures. Old Florida Vibes on Instagram. Check them out; they're great. So yeah, no, I yes and no. I have reached out to a few, but honestly, I think those people are enormous and making a lot of money for a reason, and it's not because they do charity work for small film projects.
Yeah, but still, I mean, granted, if I were at that level, I would want to take advantage of that platform and get stuff out there like that.
Yeah, I mean, it is a good look for them. Hopefully, that connection that reached out to me, something will come of that. We'll have someone share it. I don't know, Brave Wilderness is one of the big ones, right?
Yeah.
I think there was a connection to them that hopefully we'll get together and make something happen. But yeah, I don't know. It's a lot. I don't want to draw the attention to myself for the pity's sake, but I have spinal issues. So I struggle. I can't work a full-time job. So I didn't have it as bad as I did when I started doing documentaries. I was not in nearly as much pain as I am now. So I don't have the mental energy to try to do a lot of communication like that anymore. I wish I did. But we're making it happen.
Yeah.
It's getting out there. 4,000 views.
A couple people in mind I'll have to hit up and see if they'll at least share the documentary link.
Please do, yeah. And I have graphics and stuff ready to send to people specifically for when they reach out and they're like, hey, we want to share this. If anybody's interested, I have posters with QR codes if you want to print them out and put them around your county, your library, I don't know, somewhere. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
And it goes straight to the petition, and then the petition has the documentary on the front page of the petition, and so they can see why they're signing it. And for anybody that's really wants to go deep, I think I talked to you guys about this last time, but goforgamesfilm.com has the petition, it has the documentary, but on our Learn page, it has way more information about this issue than you'd ever want to know. And so it's all the stuff that we didn't want to put in the documentary because it was too boring. It's there, and you can follow the links to documents to prove everything that we claim, but you can also go to resources that will allow you to dive even deeper into the problem. So, yeah, we're doing it. We're getting it out there, and I'm excited to have people like you that are willing to talk about it and spread the word and allow me to chat about the new things that are happening, because some of them aren't sexy enough to post about on Instagram. But yes, we are getting out there, and we're excited because so many people are like, what next? What do we do?
Yeah.
And that hurt because I wasn't ready. And we didn't rush this. We took a long time. But when it came down to releasing it, we were hell bent on getting that thing out on Gopher Tortoise Day, because it's Gopher Tortoise Day. But also the FWC posts about gopher tortoises on Gopher Tortoise Day. And that was our target. And we made, the last thing I'm excited about. I public records requested some documents emails specifically, and I asked for anything in a given period that referenced our documentary and Go for Tourists in general. I got back confirmation that they were reaching out to their lawyers, considering taking down comments on their Facebook posts referencing the documentary. So they were uncomfortable in the least and scared potentially at best. So they know we're coming for them. We are making a difference. They know that it's out there. And I've been tagging I think there's only 3 commissioners that have Instagram. I've been tagging them in a lot of our stuff. So that was exciting to me.
I love the fact that you have the flyers with the QR code that people can print out. For those who are outdoorsy, especially if you're in Florida or you're in Georgia and you're listening to this, if you go to a WMA, a wildlife management area, or you go to a state park or even a federal preserve, and you go hiking, or even if you go to your local neighborhood, scenic nature boardwalk, whatever it is, there is almost always a bulletin board. If you're a hunter and there's a hunter check station, there's almost always a bulletin board of some kind. Usually it's behind glass, especially in Florida, because the cork will get all soaked up with humidity from just the atmosphere. But bring the flyer with some Scotch tape. You're going to go hiking anyway, and tape that sucker on there. Someone is going to see it, even if it's a state employee, a biologist, or just somebody walking their kid taking pictures of birds. Someone's going to see it.
Hanging from the trees like those Blair Witch stick things.
I don't know about that, but
whatever it takes.
Leave the trees alone. Leave the trees alone.
Staple it to trees. That's how you mark your way back to your car. Follow the QR codes.
Jeez. This is devolved.
Yes.
Yeah, Tyson said Charlie Jordan. I'm not familiar with Charlie Jordan. I'm assuming that's a hunter outdoorsy person.
I don't know that person.
If anyone has a connection to him, send them our way. Oh, you guys can reach out via the form on our website, but you can also email me at gophergamesfilm@gmail.com, and I can send those flyers or graphics, poster graphics, links, whatever, any information that you need. I can either refer you to our website that we worked hard to build, or I can give you the information right there, because it's a numbers game. The more people that know, the more people that are pissed, and the more people that are gonna say something. And here's evidence of why we need a lot of people. I'm gonna refresh this page. So I'm looking at the back end of the page for the petition. We have 644 supporters. Woo, that's 5 people since we started this conversation. The specs behind this, we have 3,290 people that have viewed this petition. 214 shares. So out of 3,290 people, only 644 signed it. It's a numbers game. Not everybody's going to be willing to take the time. Not everyone's going to care. Not everyone's going to have the energy, time, or resources. But everyone can share it. Everyone can tell somebody. And everyone can sign the petition if you get the chance.
Shares are free. They cost you nothing.
True.
Tyson said she's a young YouTube and social media personality. She has 4 million followers on Instagram. She's into conservation issues.
Interesting. 4 million followers would be... It makes me... I mean, it's probably worth it, but it makes me wonder if they have anybody answering their messages. They probably get a crap ton of messages on Instagram.
Oh, yeah. Just from like the creeps and stuff alone, I'm sure. Blowing up their inbox. Wanting feet pics and stuff. I
have tortoise feet. I can share
Someone
pictures.
Somewhere is probably into it. I don't know.
This really has devolved. Anyway, tortoises are awesome. So watch the movie.
There is a donate button too.
Oh yeah. You know what?
I donated, but I didn't know if that was going to you or if that was going to change. I was like, oh yeah, let me throw $20 at it.
I wish it was more. So yes and no. The more people donate, that money does not go to us. That money goes to advertising that specific petition on their website. If you go click the browse button or whatever, you'll see various different things, and So I think that's the reason why we have 3,000 something people, because it says 44 people have actually donated, which is dope. Thank you guys. I didn't expect that at all. But 44 people have donated. That means 44 people have promoted this. And I think that's why we have 3,200 people that have seen it, but have not clicked on it. Because maybe a lot of them aren't even from Florida. I don't know if it's only promoting to, zip codes in Florida,
Right.
IP addresses around here. But I started from an IP address in Atlanta. So maybe it's sharing it only to people in Atlanta. I don't know.
Does it give you any analytics or anything like that in terms of like where people are viewing it? Or
no, that's the analytics I have. How many people viewed it, how many people shared it, and how many people paid for it. Yep. Wish I had more, but
it'd be interesting to see. So what happens once you've hit 1,000? Where does it go next?
Every time we hit a milestone, it just changes the milestone. The goalposts get moved.
Okay.
So it doesn't do anything. I think as it gains steam, I think they'll probably show it more. But I don't think it's gonna. I don't know. We need a news outlet to run a story on it. So if anybody knows
something NPR would snatch up,
kinda, it's political, and so here's why I know that they won't. Because I've asked. I used to work with people at NPR. I worked in the Gainesville NPR station, and they're all about it. I'll tell you, the people that work there are all about it. In fact, I got a lot of my information from people in that building. But NPR is publicly funded, and for the most part, they try to remain, except for their opinion pieces, nonpartisan. And we definitely talk about commissioners, which are technically nonpartisan, but they're all chosen by a governor. So NPR will not share it.
What about Anthony Pierleone or any of the Turtle podcast guys?
I actually know him. I did a turtle survey with him a long time ago.
Yeah, he's doing it. He has a turtle podcast.
Yeah, I want to say that I reached out a while back, but I didn't hear back from him. I don't know.
I'm gonna shake him down.
Yeah, I haven't talked to him in a long time. I only met him that one time, and we out now and then. We really don't talk. So yeah, if you can connect with him, that'd be great. Because it seems like it'd be right down his alley, right up his alley.
Yeah, it's in his wheelhouse for sure.
Not to switch gears on you, I was just thinking about what we talked about going to a bigger streaming service like Hulu or Netflix or something, and you had said about how you could do like a mini series or something. I feel like you should. I'm not telling you how to do your job, but if you should start storyboarding of the other species that use and live with the tortoises. So like you have an opening episode with, the gopher games, and then you talk about gopher frog and gopher mouse and pine snake and indigo snake and eastern diamondback. And there's your 10 episodes right there. I think, sorry, I just did light bulb went off. Yeah. Sorry. I had to throw that out there.
No, I like it.
You probably already thought of it. Sorry.
The problem with this is, so I don't have a budget. I need a production company to reach out to me, and somebody who thinks that there's money to be made in this, because I reached out to I'm beyond honored that $5,000 came from the reptile community specifically for this. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
But I can't. It's unsustainable for us to continue to put out free content, at least at this quality, right? Like, everybody donated their time, but every single person that donated their time was an expert in what they did.
Yeah.
So that's why it looked as good as it does. We'd have to have quite a bit of money to continue to maintain that quality.
Yeah.
Hire people to do it. My wife won't let me keep doing free stuff.
Yeah.
No, you know what? I don't want to focus on this too long because it feels a little too personal. But honestly, it is true, right? Like, we all have to make money, and we all have passions, and we all care, and I want to do the right thing. But I have reached out to a lot of people, and some of them are like deep into conservation, and they do tons of conservation work. And some of them have said to me, they're like, how is this volunteer? How did you do this? Someone had to get paid, right? And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
And they have said to me, they're like, that's unsustainable. We need to get you money. I'm like, I would love that. Exactly. I would love just to break even. That'd make me happy. And so it's hard. We were talking about it earlier, right? Like, it's hard to to understand that someone will be able to fund a documentary like that. And it might be someone who has a conflict of interest. Maybe it's a developer who has the money and is like, look, I want to develop ethically, but we have to make money. So rather than you shut down the system and get rid of all the developers, maybe it's in our best interest to fund, a documentary that talks about change that doesn't restrict development. Like, who knows? That's just spitballing, but
yeah,
the money, we can't sustainably make good content that gets people engaged and excited without making money. So it's really hard. And I'm very proud that our team did all of this without anyone asking for money. And I'm very proud of what we made and the difference that we're making. But we can't keep going. I can't keep going. This petition and this bill is it. I'm done after that. I can't do it. So, and a lot of people do get that, but that doesn't mean that those are the people that have the money to fund something that's important.
Yeah.
I'll have to print out a flyer and laminate it or something to have at my table at Daytona.
Print out a stack and take them to Palm Beach and slap them on the front doors of all the billionaires.
Windshields. If the car wash people can put coupons for their car wash on my windshield in the parking lot,
that
the people at Publix can get a Go for Tortoise flyer on theirs.
Yeah, and it'd be just a business card with a QR code and a picture of a tortoise. That's it.
Yeah. But John Calloway said he'll post them all over Southeast Georgia. He definitely gets out a lot down there.
Yeah, email me. I can send you the graphics. You can actually find the QR code on the petition page too.
Nice.
He said, in case you didn't know, they moved torts where the new Hyundai plant is being built. Moved them from that site. But I haven't been down in the Savannah area in a minute, so typically try to avoid Savannah when I can. Yeah, we have them here, sort of inland a little bit, but I want to say they're uber protected in South Carolina. Like, you really don't want to mess with them, but
yeah, they're more protected in South Carolina and Georgia than I think they are in Florida.
I believe it.
Nothing's really protected in Florida.
Yeah.
The developers they are at every level. Go watch The Water State. Everybody go watch The Water State. It's also free on YouTube. And you can either type in my name, Brent Fannin, or The Water State. And it's literally the exact same problem. There is no oversight of these people. They're not qualified. They do not need to be qualified. And they're pissing away your water. And the red tide, the springs that are dying, it's because everything in Florida is just a facade of government oversight. And in reality, it's just a bunch of private interests monetizing your natural resources.
Wasn't there a big thing with either Zephyr Hills or Nestle or something basically taking away the entirety of a body of water from a certain town or something?
That's my documentary. It's the Ginny Springs one.
Is that what it was?
That's your description is not. It's a little bit overblown. They did not. They were over pumping. They were pumping a crap ton of water. Still are to this day. They are. They won the battle. They're over pumping a crap ton of water on that ecosystem that's already been shown to be devastated. And it's we've killed springs before in the state, right? We've over pumped, and the springs don't start flowing once they stop. If you've ever run an aquarium system and understand about priming, it just doesn't work. Once it stops, it doesn't start. So yeah, it is Nestle, and Zephyr Hills is owned by Nestle. Zephyr Hills is the one. For anybody that drinks bottled water, I'm not going to shame you, but if you're in Florida, get that bottled water, look at the source. They have to print the source. It will say Zephyr Hills, Ginny Springs. It will tell you which spring they're devastating. And that's mind blowing to me. So yes, watch that documentary. And that is what you're talking about, Smitty. That's story I covered with that one. And I'm in it. You can see my face. I'm famous.
Jeez.
There's 50,000 views on that one.
Wow.
Because it was funded by people with lots of money from Palm Beach. And they're great. I love that they started a production company to make a difference. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
I wish they would have funded my second one too.
Man.
Did you not send it to them and be like, hey, I got another one. You guys like that first one? Check out this one.
I did.
Yeah.
But the director had a baby, and so he stopped communicating. I didn't reach out. He had a kid. He needs to do his thing. Maybe one day he'll pick up the phone and be like, oh crap, I have an unread text message from Brent.
Aren't there now, Phil? Do you know there's the SC park group, and then I think there's like the whole park thing. A lot of states have their own now for it's reptile and amphibian conservation, but it's like a larger group, but then there's like, I guess, state wide chapters.
I don't know. That's a good question. I'm
South Carolina Partners in Amphibian and Reptile Conservation. So that's what the park is. And I want to say there was other states that had it too. It wasn't just South Carolina.
If there is in Florida, which I'm sure there is to a certain extent, I'm unaware of it.
Partners in Reptile, Amphibian, and Conservation.
Like I know there's a lot of herp societies in Florida, but most of them are what you'd what you'd expect a herp society to be. They're just a bunch of local enthusiasts who share knowledge and try and enjoy what they have, and are just a very small needle in the stack of needles. So, other than USARK Florida, I don't really know of another bona fide group.
Maybe the rattlesnake conservants.
Yeah, but I also feel like although they have major roots in Florida, I don't, and I could be wrong. I don't see that nearly as much as I see like, Florida USARK or Florida USARK.
They're very present on social media.
Yeah, so there's a regional and then a state breakdown. So it's nationwide. Says it's organized into 5 officially recognized regional working groups that serve as the operating entities of the park network, and it's PARC. Just so anyone knows, through the system, park can focus on national, regional herpetofaunal conservation challenges. There's a Northeast, Southeast, Midwest, Southwest, and Northwest park, and then I know South Carolina has one. But basically, it's an inclusive partnership dedicated to the conservation of herpetofauna and their habitats. Our membership includes individuals from state and federal agencies, conservation organizations, museums, pet trade industry, nature centers, zoos, energy industry, universities, herpetological organizations, research laboratories, forest industries, and environmental consultants. Diversity of our membership makes park the most comprehensive conservation effort ever undertaken for amphibians and reptiles. Yeah,
I've never heard of that. That's fascinating.
I thought it was just a South Carolina thing because that's where I've seen it the most, but yeah, it's a big. I'll send you the link, Brent.
Yeah, please do. I feel dumb. I only just now realized that I don't have to have YouTube up to see the comments. I can see it in the program that you're using, and I feel really dumb.
That's all right.
Hey, before we, I had something I wanted to get out there before we roll. Oh, no, I think I've forgotten it. Shoot. Oh, yes. We briefly touched on it, but I wanted to say this before we roll and before I forget about it. There are a lot of people that turn us down for sharing and helping promote and things like that. And everybody has their different reasons. But a lot of them, the reason is they don't want to get in trouble at work, or they don't want to,
Right.
have any issues with the FWC. Like, the FWC is not the enemy. The FWC is an organization that's very important. The commissioners and the lack of oversight is the enemy. The people that do the work for the FWC are just like us. They care. A lot of them are reptile owners. A lot of them, they love wildlife. They've grown up around it, and now they're giving back by helping protect it. Especially the researchers do a lot of, they do a lot of good work. So it's really important, especially when people start to engage with others in a discussion about this, online or off. Love the FWC workers, hate the FWC commission. If you'd like to direct your anger somewhere, because those people really do a great job. And some of them chatted with me, some of them wouldn't even give me their name.
Yeah.
And I get that, right? You don't want to start a witch hunt.
Witness, yeah.
Yeah, as we've proven, they do know that our documentary is out there. I wanted to make sure that everybody knew that the FWC is incredibly important, and we need the people who care, boots on the ground, making things happen. But they're just not given the resources that they need, and it's not their fault.
Yeah.
So have respect for them. Shout out a little love to the officers if you see them. Shake a hand and say thanks, and then when you go to the meetings, scream at the commissioners.
Yeah, that's well said, man. We get so heated, we get so passionate when we talk about this stuff that at no point is any of this anti-FWC. It's not. And I understand where there's a lot of people, I'll be honest, myself included, where I'm hesitant to do X, Y, and Z because if they want to shut me down, all they got to do is snap their fingers.
Mm-hmm.
And I have friends that were more outspoken than most, and their permits were revoked, or their permits were backburnered on renewal to the point where months, if not years, had gone by, or the renewal didn't come back in time, and now they're operating without licenses. And that's a direct cause of them poking the bear, you know? And I am pro FWC. I'm not, like you said, I'm not okay with what's happening above that. The puppet string pullers. You know what I mean? When I see the officer in the field doing a stand-up job, the job that a lot of people don't want to do, I commend them, you know? But at the same time, them bulldozing gopher tortoises is not cool. Them allowing it to be bulldozed is not cool.
Mm-hmm. Tyson, thank you for your work. I think you saw him in the chat.
Said as a former FWC biologist, I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Tyson Dallas, we salute you.
It's just that everybody wants to get angry. You got to direct your anger somewhere, and just do it to the right place, to the right people.
Yeah, it's like yelling at the door greeter at Walmart when
Right?
CEO that's not comparing FWC employees to door greeters at Walmart, but I'm saying the door greeter had nothing to do with what the CEO decided to do.
Yes.
Would never do that.
In fact, they're doing the opposite. I actually am working with someone who's going to hopefully help us get some good promotion, who secretly works for the FWC. They haven't told anybody on the other side what their actual job is. And can you imagine working hard to protect the environment and wildlife, and then seeing my documentary and having no idea that this was going on, having no clue who ran your organization and what their qualifications were? Can you imagine the pain that you felt for all the work that you've done? Yeah, please don't send any of your anger towards them. Please shake their hand and say, thank God for the work that you're doing. And I'm so sorry that you don't have the resources that you do to do it right. And that you have fear involved and that you could lose your job if you stand up for what's right. That sucks.
Yeah, that might be the shittiest part about it all, man. Is that concern that if you speak up or do the right thing, that you're going to pay for it. It's really, really messed up.
I've been there. I've been doing education for organizations that were crappy, thinking to myself, God, I hate these people, but if I leave, who's going to do the good work?
Right. Yeah. Well, was there anything else we wanted to touch on?
No, man, we covered everything we needed to. I think it was good. Yeah, people need to get out there, and if you haven't watched the documentary already, do it. Give it a like, share it. Like we said, it's free, and just keep on making awareness.
Sign that petition.
Yeah.
We can do it together and only together.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, this episode, first of all, if someone wants to get in contact with you, Brent, what's the best way for them to do that?
gophergamesfilm@gmail.com.
There we go.
Awesome.
There is a Facebook page. There is an Instagram. Go ahead and close down as well. And this has been good. So there's not going to be an episode Thursday because it's a holiday. In the meantime, follow blackboxcages.com. Check them out. Facebook, Instagram. Use the code THN24. Get 10% off your order. Cold-blooded caffeine. Use the code SMOKE for a little discount off your order too. Get that Snakes and Stogies blend. You will not regret it. And then Full Visa Apparel, again, 4th of July sale happening. I'm going to try and get it going probably tomorrow evening. Otherwise, use code THN at checkout, get 15% off your order. That is the exclusive promo code for THN listeners and viewers like you. Brent, thank you again. Hope everyone has a good evening, good morning, good day, whenever you may be listening to this. We appreciate you.
Thanks, y'all.
Bye.